In this session, we're going to take a look at optical screws. Seems like a very simple thing, but unfortunately this is the one component in eyeglasses that tends to take them out of commission and leave expensive and loved frames unused and unusable for a long period of time because of the inability to repair the two most common problems having to do with screws in eyeglasses. The two main problems with eyeglass screws are either that the retainer or screw block where the screw fits into the receiver is stripped. That is, the threads are no longer robust and clean and grab the thread as it should in order to hold the lens in place or to hold the temple arm in place and occasionally to hold the nose pad in the cup where the screw passes through and retains it in the nose pad assembly. The problem of having the receiver that gathers and draws the screw tight and holds the lens or the arm or the nose pad in place is this threaded section, and when those threads are gone or pulled out or broken, it's referred to as having been stripped. And what you then have is you have a hollow hole which has no threads in it, and the screw can be turned into it over and over and over again, as people tell us they do with their eyeglass lens. All I can do is turn the screw and it doesn't stop, and eventually it pops out and my lens falls out. Fine, there is a way to fix that. That's actually the easier of the two problems that we deal with. Easier because the common solution to this over the last century is that when you have a certain size hole that has been stripped and pulled out, you simply move up to the next largest size optical screw. And this is done typically by taking the next size basic drill, which is used to first make a nice clean and consistent sized hole in the frame, and then we use what is called a tap. A tap is a threaded tool that establishes fresh threads inside the long tubular hole. Now, in the automotive world, it's very common for tap and die sets to be sold. This is a tap and die set, usually used for the size bolt that would use to be holding an engine cylinder head on an automotive engine. And it's exactly what you use in the eyeglass business, obviously much smaller. So this tap and die is simply a larger version of the next size down, which is used on the larger screws in an eyeglass. You can see the similarity immediately between the automotive one and the largest of the eyeglass one. And then, if you get into the finer screws that are used in eyeglasses, you have taps and dies of this size. And this would be used for the screw that holds the nose pads on the nose pad cups on an eyeglass frame. Automotive, large eyeglass, small eyeglass. They'll make them, fortunately. Now, so the easy repair is the one in which the hole is stripped out and we've moved up to the next size eyeglass screw right there, and we've tapped it and we've made a new screw or supplied a new screw that fits into this, and the repair is done, and this is a mechanically sound and reliable repair that's cosmetically pleasing. What if it's stripped out and it's so thin-walled that you don't dare tap it out to the next largest size, but you need to use the size that's there or step down one to the size it probably originally was? At this point, we do what is called a fill drill and tap. We take an alloy. In this shop, we generally use a combination of Monel and gold, yellow gold for yellow frames, white gold for white frames, and we take that amalgam and we weld it into the interior of the opening until we have a solid block, and then we simply drill it and tap it as described before, where we establish new threads on the inside that can take a new optical screw. And that was actually a a very, very common thing for apprentices to do for the last 100 years. The fill, drill, and tap was one of the first things that they would learn before they were entrusted with more complex jobs like making hinges. Now, that takes care of the first and the easier of the two screw problems in eyeglasses.